Haven't you ever heard of a killer? I drop bombs like Hiroshima.
Somebody said, look at LeakYou video. What the fuck is LeakYou? Is it like a site? What's LeakYou? LeakYou. Is it a YouTube channel? Oh, shit. Oh, I bet. Here we go.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending where you are, of course. An amazing development, to say the least, has happened. This is a story that I know I've been following for years, and it is actually during times like this, it makes one proud, and I'm feeling kind of that way right now, and honestly, dude looks exactly like I would think he would look. Although we should never judge folks by their outer appearances. But see, this guy was just strange, period. Very successful businessman. And I think we need to know more about the Gilgo Beach serial killer, the Long Island serial killer. You all do remember all of the bodies that they found in Long Island at Gilgo Beach. We're talking about women, even one that was with child. Shout out to the chat. Shout out to Basin Bays, Gino. Hey, Shannon, good to see you. Hope you're well. I say let's get on into it and let's understand, and let me just introduce you all to who this murderer is. Of course, alleged murderer, because until he goes to trial, we won't have no say so or the other. But let me tell you this. They've been watching this guy for a year. Now, if you ever want to go back and you want to find out more details about the night that, one woman escaped, or thought she did. And even with the police there, they lost her and she was found dead. Somebody was calling, hiring for escorts. Does this man have a house in Gilgo Beach? Listen, let's find out a little more together, shall we?
AC7 New York. This is Eyewitness News Extra
Body
Time.
has been found in Oak Beach, and police believe there may be other bodies out there.
Yeah, and Liz, this is the barrier island to the south of the town of Babylon. An extensive search that goes on for a good mile along the bay here south of the town of Babylon. You could see crime scene investigators there, and then Tony, if you want to come back out, you could see behind me, and then clear up the beach right here. There are multiple outposts here where they're right now sifting through the sand and looking for human remains. We know right now that they can confirm in the last couple of days they have found 2 bodies. We believe skeletal remains, one on Saturday, one today, and we're told possibly more.
There sure were more. It's hard to imagine, surreal in fact, that it's been 12 and a half years since I stood on the beach in the bitter cold. That was December of 2010. Now here we are in July of 2023, and I'm standing in front of the home of a suspected serial killer. I'm Josh Reiniger, live in Massapequa Park, Long Island. This is Eyewitness News Extra Time. We're glad you're joining us for this special edition of our streaming show tonight, and we are talking about the Gilgo Beach serial killer, the Gilgo Beach murders, 10 sets of human remains which were discovered in gruesome fashion along the Ocean Parkway, which spans between Jones Beach and Robert Moses State Park 13 years ago practically now. We can show you exclusive video that Eyewitness News just obtained from last night in Midtown Manhattan, when the suspect in at least as many as 4 of those killings was finally, after all this time, taken into custody. 59-year-old Rex Heuermann, who is an architect in the city but lives here in Massapequa Park, went without incident with Suffolk and state police investigators, a whole task force who have actually, we are told now, been tracking him for months. Mugshot now, as he was booked into the Suffolk County Jail. He was arraigned on murder charges involving 3 of the Gilgo victims, and a 4th is likely as well. Eyewitness News reporter Stacey Sager was in court for Heuermann's first appearance today.
He was taken to court this afternoon and said nothing to reporters. But Rex Heuermann did tell his defense attorney he denies all the charges.
The only thing I can tell you that he did say as he was in tears was, "I didn't do this."
But local, state, and federal authorities on Long Island outlining today years of quiet evidence collection leading to an indictment against Heuermann for at least 3 Gilgo murders, that of Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello. And they say Rex Heuermann is likely to be charged in a 4th, the murder of Maureen Brainard Barnes. The pattern?
All the women were bound at the head, at the midsection, or at the chest, and later at the legs. They were bound by burlap. The burlap was camouflage burlap used to hide, purposely hide the bodies.
The indictment against him reading like a movie thriller, saying Heuermann used at least 7 burner phones he would toss after his alleged crimes, but not before taking selfies like these to find his victims. Federal investigators were tracking the cell phone activity to 4 separate towers around the area of Massapequa Park, where they converged today. But they say Heuermann was positively ID'd back in March of 2022. First, after a witness described him, then a description matching his Chevy pickup truck, then data listing his address in the so-called box here, Massapequa Park, where all the cell calls were being traced.
Rex Heuermann is a demon that walks among us, a predator that ruined families.
But there is more work to do. Other victims not linked to Heuermann, their families also at court today, without closure, but hopeful.
Full justice is all the cases being closed.
There needs to be far more investigation, and maybe the dam will have broken with this fellow.
And remember, there are at least 6 other Gilgo victims. Investigators have long believed there could be more than one killer. But as for today's indictment, 6 counts of murder, each one punishable by a potential sentence of life in prison without parole. The judge telling Heuermann he'll be held without bail. In Riverhead, I'm Stacey Sager, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
We had been hearing for the last maybe year and a half, 2 years, that the investigation had been jump-started with the assistance of the FBI, which has much more sophisticated DNA matching capability and cell phone tracking capability than the Suffolk Police Department was able to bring to bear. And so we can show you some video of actually images that we saw in the criminal complaint in Suffolk County Court today. Investigators found selfies that Heuermann allegedly took with those burner phones, which he then posted online to search for escorts, to search for sex, frankly, and perhaps lure his alleged victims. We also learned about how they used DNA to match him to the victims with whom he is charged. Hairs that did not match those victims that belonged to a man that were found on the scene so many years ago. Well, investigators, once they were on to Heuermann, they waited for him to throw out some trash. He threw out a pizza box, and on that pizza box, according to the indictment, was a crust inside the box that he had not completed eating. And from that pizza crust, they were able to find enough of his DNA to match with the hair found on the victims at the scene. And that was a key piece of evidence that helped get to this location, this point today. Back live here in Massapequa Park, this is a very small residential bedroom community. A lot of law enforcement people live in this neighborhood, and a lot of working law enforcement now have surrounded the house where Heuermann lives with his wife and 2 children. Eyewitness News reporter Christian Thorne spent the day here in this neighborhood with how people are reacting to the alleged serial killer next door.
It's a shocker. It's scary.
A crime that has captivated the world, a true crime story of movies and books, has come down to this quiet neighborhood in Massapequa Park. Neighbors still can't believe one of the suspected Gilgo Beach killers was living among them.
Oh my God. I think I know who it is.
The crowds only grew throughout the day, from neighbors to people from all over Long Island who wanted to get a glimpse of Rex Heuermann's house. They saw the investigators in hazmat suits, a car being towed out of Heuermann's driveway, and something else hidden under a large tarp. It was like watching a movie. And for those who have been armchair detectives on this case for years, it's a day they never thought they would actually see.
I saw it on Facebook this morning, and I was at work, and I was just like, listen, I got to take some personal time. I got to go down here because this is a big case.
Shocked, but you know, we got to see how it plays out too. We're talking about the Gilgo Force, so you all know that's not the end of the story, right? We still got the Manorville stuff. We still got a lot of the, you know, the other victims.
And yet he is correct. While we know that Rex Heuermann is considered a suspect in several of these murders, he is not in all the other human remains that have been found at Gilgo Beach throughout the years. So the mystery around this case will continue. In Massapequa Park, I'm Kristen Thorne, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
And that's a key point that Kristen just made there. There were, in the end, actually 10 sets of human remains discovered along the Ocean Parkway. And very early on, investigators, and we could show you video from back then when we were there watching them search both sides of the parkway. Early on, investigators were telling us they believed this was the work of at least 2 different, distinct people. That's because one set of human remains, actually the remains found first, were basically completed sets of remains wrapped in burlap. The rest of them, that was 4 women. The other 6 victims were in much more of a sense of disarray, were scattered much farther across Ocean Parkway, and had obviously been there for much longer. So in this case, Heuermann is charged only with 3 of those first 4, the 4th likely to be added in the future. But it does speak to how complicated this investigation has been, and that has not been helped by corruption at the top of the Suffolk County Police Department, which significantly delayed progress here for years. Eyewitness News reporter N.J. Burkett has a look at the history of this gruesome case.
All 4 bodies were found in heavy brush within 500 yards of one another, dumped over the course of 18 months along a remote stretch of Ocean Parkway, 40 miles from New York. Detectives believe it happened in the middle of the night, that the killer chose the same desolate location each time, pulling onto the shoulder, switching off his lights, and dragging the body out of his vehicle, dumping it no more than 25 feet off the roadside. It would be several years before the first body would be discovered. A wider search revealed 3 others, all women, bound with tape or leather belts and identified through DNA. All had disappeared between 2007 and 2010. In the months that followed, more bodies would be recovered in the brush farther west, a total of 8 women, a man, and an infant. Prosecutors have charged Rex Heuermann for the murders of Melissa Barthelemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello, all sex workers, and investigators say he is the prime suspect in the murder of the 4th, Maureen Brainerd Barnes. Investigators say the technology and the expertise of the FBI are what cracked the case. ABC News contributor Rich Frankel is a former FBI special agent in charge.
What do you think investigatively made the difference, Rich?
So I think it was the analytics and the forensics.
But for years, the FBI was kept out of the case. Frankel blames former Suffolk Police Chief James Burke, who was later indicted and convicted in an unrelated corruption case.
He was, I think, the biggest hindrance to bringing the FBI in. We'd asked to go in, and we were denied.
Do you think this case could have been solved sooner?
I don't know if the case could have been solved sooner, but I think there could have been a lot more movement on the case sooner. They did assist in trying to locate other bodies in that area. So there was some work being done, but the problem was that once we did the work and handed it over to the Suffolk DA, we never got it back.
NJ Burke at Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
And for more on this landmark case, we have a very important guest. Bob Boyce was the chief of detectives at the NYPD. He's now an ABC News contributor. Bob, thanks so much for joining us. It's good.
And so listen, we're going to take this in a different direction, because one name I'm not seeing being mentioned is Shannan Gilbert. Shannan Gilbert broke this case open, although she became a victim and she is no longer with us. If it hadn't have been for her 911 calls, police would have never found any of those bodies. So please be advised that some of the content you are going to hear is not suitable for young or sensitive viewers. About 1 year ago, the Suffolk police released 911 calls made before the disappearance and death of Shannan. She kept trying to get a hold of 911. The limousine driver just left her. The driver that took her over to this home left her. She begged for that driver to help her, and he didn't. And I wonder how that weighs on his conscience.
I'm Detective Lieutenant Kevin Byra, the commanding officer of the Suffolk County Police Homicide Section. This video was made to explain the circumstances surrounding the 3 911 calls made on the day Shannan Gilbert went missing. The full, unedited 911 calls are available, and I encourage people to listen to them in their entirety. Portions of the call taken out of context will sound sensational. During the early morning hours of May 1st, 2010, Shannan Gilbert, a Craigslist sex worker and resident of Jersey City, New Jersey, traveled from Manhattan to meet a client, Joseph Brewer, at his home at 8 The Fairway, Oak Beach, New York. Shannan was driven to Oak Beach from Manhattan by her driver, Michael Pack. Neither one was familiar with the area, neither one had been there before, and neither one had met Brewer before. Pack waited in the car while Shannan was inside with Brewer. Pack was her de facto security. At 4:51 a.m., while at Brewer's house, Shannan called 911. This call lasts for more than 21 minutes. At times, Shannan is speaking calmly, but slurring her words. At times, she is not responsive, and at times, she is screaming. During this call, Brewer and Pack are heard trying to get Shannan to leave the house. Shannan eventually does leave the house and runs to Gus Coletti's house, located at 17 The Fairway, which causes him to call 911 at 5:22 a.m.
State Police, Trooper Fry. State Police.
Yeah, there's somebody after me.
I'm sorry?
There's somebody after me.
Where are you?
There's somebody after me.
Okay, where are you?
There's somebody after me.
Where are you, ma'am?
I don't know.
You're driving right now?
No, I'm inside the house.
I'm sorry?
I'm inside the house.
What house?
I don't know. Can you trace where I am?
I'm sorry?
Can you trace where I am?
No, I can't. What's your callback number you're calling from?
Huh?
What phone number are you calling from?
Somebody's after me. Please.
Are you in Suffolk County or Nassau County?
I'm in Long Island.
Where on Long Island are you?
No. 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 No, stop, no.
Where in Long Island are you? In Suffolk County? Nassau County?
Huh? All right. calling me by my name? Why?
County, you on the line?
Stop. Please. Stop it, please. Please stop. Please. Can you shut the door?
No, time to go.
Please. Please. Please.
Go that way, please. Come on, let's go. Come on, roll that side. Come on, go outside. Come on, all of us. Come on, go outside. Come on.
No, please.
Come on. Please, come on.
Please.
Come on.
Why?
Just try it. Come on. I'll go upstairs. I'll go upstairs. You leave. I'm going to stay upstairs. I'm going to go upstairs. You leave. I'm going to go upstairs. Okay? You leave, please. Please, get that. My hold. All right. What's the matter? Are you okay?
What are you going to do? What are you going to do to me? Why?
Huh? Yeah, I don't know. That's what was transferred to me.
Why?
No.
Are you going to tell me?
It's running through, I think it's just a county on the left side, but it's county on the other side.
Why are you going to...
Stop it now.
I'm in the middle of nowhere?
Let's go back to Manhattan. All right? We're in Long Island. We're up near the water.
Please, stop.
Me, Mike. Brother,
No, stop it, please. Hello? Hello? Please. What's the problem? What's the matter? What happened? Hello? Please, get me out of here, please. Hello? You're being sarcastic about this. You were part of this all along.
I have met him just now.
Shannon then ran from Brewer's house at 8 the fairway to Gus Coletti's house at 17 the fairway, a distance of 0.2 of a mile.
Shannon.
Shannon interacts with Coletti. He invites her inside his home.
Shannon.
Somebody here? Huh?
Hello? Hello?
Don't keep yourself hurt. Where are you going? Wait a minute. Where are you going? Where are you going?
She then runs from Coletti's home, prompting Coletti to call 911. After Coletti's call, Shannon then runs another 0.2 of a mile to another home at 43 the Bayou, prompting a third 911 call made at 5:30 a.m. by Barbara Brennan.
Contact police 873 with location of emergency.
Yes, I live at Oak Beach in the association. There's a young girl about 14 years old running around here screaming, and there's some guy trying to follow her.
What's the address there?
I'm at 17 the Fairway.
All right, you have a description of the girl or the boy?
Pardon me?
You have a description of the girl or the boy?
The girl is about 14 years old, got blonde hair, very small. The boy, I can't tell. He was into like a Suburban.
What color?
Black.
Did you happen to get a plate number or any phone?
No, I didn't.
Okay, telephone number you're calling from?
Fort.
Are they still on the fairway?
They just went past the gatehouse where the entrance is.
And what's the name of the complex?
It's Oak Beach Association.
Okay.
Out at by Robert Moses.
All right, we got somebody over there.
I'll be watching.
Oh, okay.
Suffolk Police 875. What is the location of your emergency?
43 The Bayou. Some woman is knocking at my door.
What town are you in?
Oak Beach Association.
What's the nearest corner street now?
Ocean Parkway. She says she's in danger.
Do you know her or no?
No, I don't. I'm not letting her in.
She's banging on your door now?
Yes.
Did she say what kind of danger?
No.
Oh.
And we live in a gated community.
What's your name, ma'am?
Barbara Brennan.
What's there a name to that community?
Oak Beach Association.
Oak Beach Association.
And I have an elderly mother here.
All right, I'll get somebody right over there, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is drone footage and footage shot from the ground showing the marshland. It was taken at the same time of year and time of day as when Shannon went missing. These reeds can grow over 12 feet tall. They can disorient someone inside them, causing them to lose a sense of direction. One cannot tell where the highway is or where the bay is. The reeds and brush can become impenetrable in places. There's a trench running east and west through the marshland. This was created to allow mosquito control. It is believed that Shannon followed this trench. Personal belongings of hers were found just north of the trench. Shannon's remains were found north of the trench, about 158 feet south of Ocean Parkway, approximately 3/4 of a mile from where she was last seen. There has been information received during the course of this investigation that other people might be involved in this incident. They have all been investigated, and there is no reason to believe at this time that anyone else is involved in this tragic series of events. The police responded to Coletti and Brennan's 911 calls. Pack, Brewer, and Shannon were all gone. Gus Coletti provided a description of Pack's car, which was also gone. This created the possibility that Shannon had been driven out of the area, which caused a delay in the initial search for her. The police department has thoroughly investigated this case for more than a decade. The official cause of Shannon's death is undetermined. This official classification means there is insufficient or no evidence to determine or even to exclude an actual cause of death. The Gilbert family has hired a private pathologist to conduct an autopsy. His determination is there is insufficient information to determine the definite cause of death, but the autopsy findings are consistent with homicidal strangulation. That pathologist's report will be made available. This case, including the 911 call, and all of the other cases commonly referred to as Gilgo, in their entirety, were made available to the Behavioral Analysis Unit, or BAU, of the FBI. As part of BAU's review of the case, they retained the services of a psychiatrist to review Shannon's words and actions on the 911 tape, and also to review the facts of the case. BAU's opinion, based on their review of Shannon's case, the scene, the 911 calls, and the psychiatrist's review, is that Shannon Gilbert's death is not consistent with Shannon being the victim of violence or of a violent offender. Significant differences between Shannon's death and the circumstances surrounding the other victims' deaths were also highlighted by BAU. The Suffolk County Police Department is open to evaluate any evidence to be able to help us and all involved determine a definite cause of death. However, based on the evidence, the facts, and the totality of the circumstances, the prevailing opinion is that Shannon's death, while tragic, was not a murder and is most likely an accident. While we are of the opinion that this was an unfortunate accident, we remain open to evaluate any information that the public may have. Anyone
Driving right now?
No, I'm inside the house.
I'm sorry?
I'm inside the house.
What house?
All right, guys, listen. When there's some there, sometimes police get tunnel vision. And in this case, I think that they do have it when it comes to Shannon Gilbert. again, hear me very loud, okay? Shannon escaped. They chased her through those reeds. And her own forensic pathologist that her family hired found evidence of homicidal strangulation. And it just so happens that you find 10 more bodies in the exact same place? No, I don't think so. I don't believe in coincidences. No, what I believe happened here is this man, if he's guilty, hunted these women. He discarded these women. He just didn't get a chance to do it to Shannon because she got the fuck up out of there. Now, could there be two killers? Maybe. But I know one thing. We got one of them right now. A good old fashioned, I wouldn't call him a high valued man by any stretch, but an architect. He builds buildings. Got a whole wife and kids. Ain't no catch for me. I'll tell you that. But it's just the point. Some of these men get with these women, they marry them, and then they're fucking around on them within 6 months, a year. And then he allowed his lust and hatred and violence overtake him. I'm going to tell y'all something. I truly believe in my heart. And that doesn't mean it makes it right or nothing. Matter of fact, child abusers, child molesters die a horrible fucking death. I feel nothing, absolutely nothing about a child abuser, about a fucking pedophile, and about people that take the innocent lives of others for your sick sexual wants. There's more to the story here, guys. Again, did you hear what I said? If it wouldn't have been for Shannon Gilbert escaping, running through those reeds, even though she did end up dying in those reeds, I think they caught up to her and strangulated her to death. Because of all the commotion going around, all the police phone calls, you think he was going to wrap her up like he did the others? Fuck no, he's going to drop her and get the fuck back wherever he was. For all we know, he could have been a second guy that was trying to escort her that night. Something scared her. Could she have been on something? Yeah, sure. But you know what else makes a woman talk like that? Fear. This is one of the biggest stories of this decade. Period. And I've been following this story since the beginning. I have done so many lives on this story. So for me, today, this is a very good day for me. And I'm not even kidding you about that. I will be honest, that shit made me shed a few tears. Imagine being bound by your feet to your torso, to your hands. You all, thanks to everyone who came through. There will be more stories like this, I promise you. And let's rejoice in this day. Whether or not Shannon was an escort, a sex escort, whatever, that woman didn't. These men, they had no right to take that girl's life. And did you know that her mother was murdered about a year after this happened? Her mother was murdered. That family has had so much tragedy happen to them. And I encourage you to go look this story up some more on YouTube. 2020 has some good specials out there, and get to know the case a little bit more. But you guys, I promise you, this so-called smart architect, see, you got to watch the smart ones, man. You got to watch the smart ones. And I would say that today was a very good day. Until next time.